There are days when you wake up and you already feel behind. Before the sun has fully risen, your mind is running. Messages you have not answered. Expectations you have not met. Bills, deadlines, mistakes, things you said that you wish you could unsay. You pick up your phone and the world immediately shouts at you, pulling your attention in 10 different directions, and somewhere in the middle of that noise, you feel something tightening in your chest. It is not a scream. It is a quiet pressure, like a storm gathering over the sea before anyone on the shore notices the clouds. Outwardly, you look normal. Inside, you are one bad moment away from snapping. Marcus Aurelius knew this feeling. Not the notifications or the emails, but the silent storm. He woke each day not to a simple to-do list, but to an empire on fire. Plague eating through his cities. Armies at his borders. Political enemies smiling in his presence and plotting behind his back. His own health weakening. Children he loved dying before him. The man whose writings you now quote on Instagram did not live in a calm world. He lived in a world that gave him every excuse to be angry, bitter, and constantly anxious. And yet, the pages of his private journal repeat the same insistence: keep your mind steady. If you feel that your world is loud, unfair, overwhelming, you are closer to Marcus than you think. He did not write for an audience. He was not trying to impress anyone or sell a lifestyle. He was talking to himself in moments when he too felt the pull of fear and irritation. He was reminding himself of something you also need to remember. The storm may surround you, but it does not have to live inside you. The first movement toward calm is not glamorous. It is not a technique you can brag about to your friends. It is an inner decision, quiet and almost invisible, made in the middle of an ordinary day. Marcus describes it as returning to yourself. Imagine that there is a small room inside your mind that no one else can enter. No boss, no partner, no family, no stranger on the internet. That room is where your judgments live, where you decide what things mean. The world can throw its worst at you, but that room is yours. You are its guardian. When you feel the familiar rush of anxiety rising, most of the time you do not question it. You simply write it. Something happens, you react. A message comes, you get triggered. You replay that conversation, you feel the same anger again. You look at someone's success, and your self-worth collapses a little more. You do not realize that what is agitating you is not the event itself, but the story you attach to it. Marcus repeated to himself again and again, you have power over your opinion. You cannot stop every thought from appearing, but you can refuse to bow to each one as if it were law. So pause, just for a moment. When something disturbs you, Marcus would say, do not rush to say, this is terrible, this is unfair, this is the end. Simply say, this is an impression. That is all it is at first, an image, a thought, a headline in your mind. It demands your emotional reaction, but it has not yet earned it. The calm man does not give his emotions away for free. He inspects what knocks at the door of that inner room. This is where your life begins to separate from the crowd. Most people believe that they are forced to feel the way they feel. If they are angry, it is because someone made them angry. If they are anxious, it is because life is stressful. If they cannot sleep, it is because the world is too uncertain. Marcus would not deny that the world can be harsh, but he would remind you that the harshness of the world and the agitation of your mind are not the same thing. One is outside, the other is your response. He did something simple and ruthless. He divided everything into two categories: what depends on him and what does not. A plague does not depend on him. Other people's decisions do not depend on him. The weather, the market, the gossip of the court, the whims of the crowd, all beyond his control. But his judgments, his priorities, his actions, his willingness to act with justice and courage, those are his. That is where he places his energy. The storm may rage in the sky, but his hands stay steady on the oar. Look at your day through that same lens. The coworker who disrespects you, the partner who is cold and distant, the person who left your message unread, the bill that arrives when you are already stretched thin. None of these are fully under your command. You can influence, you can act, but you cannot dictate the outcome. Yet you let them live rent-free inside your chest, pulling your mood up and down as if you were a puppet. Marcus would call that a kind of slavery. You become a servant to shifting conditions you never fully controlled in the first place. To keep calm is not to pretend these things do not matter. It is to refuse to give them the authority to govern your inner state. You acknowledge what is happening, you admit what you feel, and then you ask the question. Marcus kept asking himself, what is within my power right now? Sometimes the answer is to speak with honesty. Sometimes it is to walk away. Sometimes it is to wait and do nothing. But the key is that your action flows from a deliberate choice, not from panic. There is another habit Marcus used that you can borrow each morning. Before the day began, he mentally rehearsed it. Not in a positive affirmation way, not imagining everything going perfectly, but the opposite. He would tell himself, today I will meet interference, ingratitude, arrogance, disloyalty, ill will, and selfishness. He expected difficulty. He expected people to be flawed. He expected life to be unfair. You sit, you lower the beam of your focus onto one specific task defined last night in a sentence short enough to fit in the margin of a book, and you move it forward until the smallest meaningful unit ships. Because when the difficulties arrived, they could not surprise him. You cannot be deeply shaken by what you already saw coming. You, on the other hand, have been trained to expect comfort. You assume people will understand you. You assume that if you are kind, they will be kind back. You assume that if you give your best, life will reward you quickly. And when reality fails to cooperate with that fantasy, you feel betrayed. Marcus cut that illusion at the root. By expecting human nature to be human, he freed himself to stay calm when others behaved exactly as he anticipated. Try this the next time you are about to start a day that you already feel anxious about. Instead of saying, I hope everything goes smoothly, be brutally honest with yourself. Say, there will be problems today. Someone will misunderstand me. Someone will be rude. Something will take longer than I planned. My body may be tired. I will feel the pull of irritation and impatience. And then add, and none of that will be enough to make me abandon my principles. Now your calm is no longer a fragile thing that depends on the world being gentle. It is a stance you hold even when the world is not. The more you train this, the more a strange shift begins to happen. You start to see irritating moments as training instead of personal attacks. The delayed message, the passive-aggressive comment, the minor injustice at work, all become weights in the gym of your character. Marcus lived surrounded by tests far greater than yours, but the principle is the same. Every disturbance is a chance to practice the art of not being disturbed. This is where the storm inside you begins to lose power, not because the clouds vanish, but because you stop feeding them with your imagination. You stop repeating worst-case scenarios in your head. You stop building stories where you are the helpless victim of everyone else's behavior. You stop expecting that the world will finally calm down so that you can finally relax. Instead, you start from the opposite assumption. The world will not calm down. So you must. That is the essence of what Marcus Aurelius was doing when he wrote to himself in the quiet hours of the night. He was not polishing quotes for the future. He was fighting for his own sanity. You are not less capable than he was. Your empire may be smaller, but your mind is not. The same choice stands in front of you. Will you let the storm outside dictate the weather inside, or will you guard that inner room as if it were the last free space in the world? Begin there. Do not try to fix your entire life at once. Do not wait for the perfect moment. Take one situation that is currently shaking you and look at it with Marcus's eyes. What part of this is outside my control? What part is my judgment, my story, my fear? What would it look like to respond, not as a slave of my impulses, but as the ruler of my own mind? You will not get it perfect the first time. Neither did he. But each time you refuse to let the storm invade that inner room, you are already practicing the calm you think you lack. This is how a different kind of strength starts to grow in you. Quiet, steady, almost invisible from the outside. People may still see you walking through the same chaotic world, dealing with the same challenges, but something in the way you carry yourself has changed. You are no longer thrown in every direction by every wave. You have found, as Marcus did, that while you do not command the sea, you are not powerless. You command the helm, and for a man who wants to remain calm in a world that delights in agitation, that makes all the difference. You spend most of your life inside your own head, and yet you rarely stop to ask whether that place is safe to live in. You worry about your job, your relationships, your future, your mistakes, but before any of these become feelings, they begin as thoughts. A sentence in your mind. Okay, a quiet assumption about what something means. Marcus Aurelius understood that calm is not built on perfect circumstances. It is built on the quality of those silent sentences. Change them, and your emotional life changes with them. When Marcus writes that the soul becomes dyed with the color of its thoughts, he is not decorating reality with a pretty metaphor. He is describing what you live every day. If you bathe your mind in resentment, you do not just have resentful moments, you become a resentful man. If every quiet moment is filled with imagined disasters, your nervous system will adapt as if danger were constantly at the door. Then, even when nothing is happening, you feel tense, on guard, ready for impact. Calm seems fake to you because your inner world has been painted with the colors of anxiety for so long that peace feels like a lie. Most people never examine what they think. They confuse habit with identity. This is just who I am, they say, when in truth it is simply what they have rehearsed. Marcus would tell you that you are, to a frightening degree, the product of what you allowed it to repeat in your mind. If you spend your spare moments replaying old arguments, proving yourself right to someone who is not even there, do not be surprised when you feel exhausted. Your body is paying for battles you fight entirely in your imagination. The calm man does not deny that these impulses appear. He is not a stone. Old humiliations rise, fantasies of revenge appear, worst-case scenarios try to take center stage. The difference is what he does next. Instead of following each thought down the same tunnel, he steps back and asks a simple question. Is this thought helping me live according to my principles, or is it dragging me away from them? In that pause, he reclaims the power most people surrender. You are not obligated to think every thought to the end. This discipline happens where no one can praise you. It happens late at night when your mind wants to spiral. It happens when you are scrolling and suddenly feel inferior to people you will never meet. It happens when you are about to rewrite an entire conversation in your head for the 5th time. In those moments, you can notice what your mind is trying to do and gently redirect it. Not to fake positivity, but to a more sober view. You remind yourself of what is actually in front of you right now. You remember what depends on you and what does not. You bring your attention back to the task in your hands, the weight of your body on the chair, the breath that proves you are still here. Over time, this becomes a form of mental hygiene. Just as you would not willingly drink dirty water every day, you stop tolerating thought patterns that poison your character. This does not mean you refuse to see uncomfortable truths about yourself. Marcus is brutally honest with his own flaws, but he insists on seeing them in the light of reason, not under the distortion of self-pity or drama. When he notices himself craving praise or fearing criticism, he calls it out as unworthy of him, not because he imagines he is superior, but because he has decided what kind of man he wants to be. You have to make a similar decision. If you keep telling yourself that life is always unfair to you, your mind will eagerly build a narrative to support that belief. Every delay, every no, every misunderstanding will become proof. Calm will be impossible because everything will feel like another attack. Marcus chose another path. He saw himself as a rational agent in a world that does not guarantee comfort, yet always offers the dignity of choosing an attitude. That single choice separates a man who is constantly offended from a man who can remain still in the middle of chaos. Listen to the lines you repeat in your head when something goes wrong. Of course, this would happen. People never respect me. Nothing works out. These are not harmless expressions. They are strokes of paint. Repeat them enough and you will see them everywhere, even where they do not exist. You will mistake the echo of your own thinking for the voice of reality, and the calm you see in others will seem like a performance, because inside, your world is tuned permanently to the frequency of threat. Marcus would urge you to question these automatic lines. When you hear yourself thinking, "This always happens," stop and examine it as if it came from a stranger. Is that true, or is it laziness? When you decide that no one values you, check the evidence. How many people actually treated you with contempt today? How many acted with basic decency that you ignored because it did not fit the story you prefer? The point is not to flatter yourself, but to break the spell of sloppy thinking. You cannot demand a calm life while tolerating a chaotic mind. Marcus did not enjoy serenity by indulging every story that passed through his head. He treated his inner commentary as the central lever of his existence. The same event can feel like humiliation or training depending on the story attached to it. The same silence from another person can feel like rejection or like empty space in which you are free to work. The outside fact does not change, the thought does. And with it, your emotions. So begin to treat your thoughts with both reverence and suspicion. Reverence, because they shape the man you are becoming. Suspicion, because many of them are simply echoes of fear, habit, and ego. You do not have to accept each one as a command. You are allowed to say, "No, we are not going there today." You are allowed to replace "I am cursed" with "This is difficult, but I can respond with strength." If you want to be the man who stays composed under pressure, you cannot keep imagining yourself as someone always on the edge of collapse. Pain will still visit you, loss will still reach you, but your thoughts will no longer turn every wound into a permanent identity. Little by little, as you guard the doorway of your mind, the colors inside begin to change, and the same storms that once shook you to your core begin to pass through your life like weather, noticed, but no longer obeyed. There is a quiet humiliation in realizing how easily other people can move you. One careless comment and your mood collapses. One cold look and your confidence begins to tremble. A stranger's opinion online can live in your mind for 3 days, while the praise from people who love you barely stays for 3 minutes. You like to think of yourself as independent, but your emotions reveal a different story. You have outsourced your peace to the behavior of others. Marcus Aurelius would call that a tragic waste of a human life. He lived surrounded by people who had the power to betray him, disappoint him, and even kill him. Emperors were not protected from poison, plots, and lies. Yet in his notebooks he keeps returning to the same idea. Whatever others do, they cannot touch your mind unless you open the door. They can wound your body, they can stain your reputation, they can take away your possessions, but the part of you that judges what these events mean remains yours. That inner judge is your last line of defense. If you surrender that, you are not just suffering events, you are collaborating with them. Think about how often you do exactly that. Someone fails to reply to your message and your mind does not simply notice it, it builds a story. They are ignoring. I am not important. They must be bored with me. None of this is objectively written in reality. It is your own imagination acting as a cruel narrator, choosing the worst interpretation possible and presenting it to you as fact. The calm man is not a fool. He also notices the unanswered message. But he refuses to chain his worth to it. He tells himself, I do not know why this happened yet, and my value as a person is not on trial here. Marcus trained himself to see insults in the same way. If someone spoke badly of him, he would ask whether what they said was true. If it was, he resolved to improve. If it was not, he dismissed it as irrelevant noise. In neither case did he give the other person the power to decide his inner state. This is emotional sovereignty, the refusal to hand strangers the keys to your nervous system. It does not mean you never feel hurt. It means your hurt does not automatically become a command. You have likely been taught, without anyone saying it directly, that if someone pushes you, you must push back with equal force. If they raise their voice, you must raise yours. If they are cold, you must act colder. If they disappear, you must obsess. This is not strength. It is perfect slavery. You are simply a mirror, reflecting whatever is thrown at you. Marcus suggests another path. You do not respond to others according to their character. You respond according to yours. Your standard is not, what did they do to me? But who do I choose to be in this moment? This shift is not about becoming passive or letting people walk over you. On the contrary, when your emotions are not dragging you around like a dog on a leash, your actions become cleaner and more effective. You can leave a disrespectful situation without needing to create a dramatic scene. You can say no without shaking. You can end a relationship that clearly corrodes your soul without turning it into war. You stop fighting to win every interaction and begin acting in a way that protects your long-term peace instead of your short-term ego. Notice how much of your agitation comes from rehearsing what you would say to someone if you had the courage, imagining speeches that will never be delivered. Emotional sovereignty is not about giving the perfect answer. It is about not being owned by the need to answer at all. Marcus often reminds himself that many things are better left without a reaction. Silence is not always weakness. Sometimes it is the most powerful declaration of independence. You do not deserve access to my inner world. There is a small exercise you can practice the next time someone disturbs you. Before you react, ask yourself, what exactly did they take from me? If all they took was your illusion of control over them, then perhaps nothing important was taken. If all they damaged was your imagined image in their mind, that image was never stable to begin with. Your principles, your ability to act with honesty, your capacity for courage and kindness, those remain untouched unless you yourself abandon them. Marcus anchored his calm in those inner possessions, not in the shifting attitudes of the crowd. You might say, but it hurts. I cannot just decide not to care. And you would be right about the first part. It does hurt. The Stoic is not a man without nerves. When a friend betrayed Marcus, or when his children died, or when his body failed him, he felt the full weight of it. What he refused was the second step, building a permanent residence inside that pain. He would feel, and then he would remind himself of the wider perspective. People are mortal. Attachments are fragile. Human judgment is fickle. None of this is personal in the cosmic sense. Once he saw that, the pain remained, but the panic began to dissolve. Emotional sovereignty is not built in one heroic decision. It is forged in 1,000 small choices. Each time you do not stalk your own wound, each time you do not refresh the conversation, or look for new evidence that you were wronged. Each time you gently pull your attention back from their life to your own path. Marcus had a whole empire to manage, yet he constantly reminds himself that his true work is to perfect his own soul. You, with your smaller world, have no excuse to neglect that work. Imagine how different your days would feel if you saw every emotional trigger as a test of your rulership over yourself. That coworker whose voice makes you tense becomes an opportunity to practice patience without weakness. That ex who posts calculated updates becomes an invitation to practice indifference that is not bitterness but clarity. We no longer belong to each other's story. That stranger who attacks you online becomes a reminder that not every thrown stone deserves your time, much less your serenity. Slowly, a new pattern takes shape. People still act unpredictably, situations still go wrong, but your reactions are no longer wildfires. They are deliberate, measured responses or, when appropriate, deliberate non-responses. The world retains its chaos, but your inner atmosphere changes. You become, in the best sense, a man who is hard to move, not because you are numb, but because you are rooted. Marcus Aurelius did not write his meditations to impress history. He wrote them to remember who he wanted to be when the world tried to make him someone else. Emotional sovereignty was not a luxury for him, it was survival. The same is true for you. If you allow every opinion, every delay, every disappointment to seize the throne of your mind, you will always live at the mercy of forces you cannot direct. But if you take back that throne, if you insist that your judgments, not your impulses, rule your reactions, then even in a life full of uncertainty, there will be a place inside you that remains, like Marcus, unshaken. There is a version of calm that is nothing more than paralysis. You know it well. It looks like scrolling endlessly, staying quiet when you should speak, waiting for the perfect moment to change while your life slowly decays around you. From the outside, it might look peaceful. You are not shouting, you are not fighting, you are not breaking anything. Inside, though, there is a different storm, a slow guilt that whispers that you are wasting your time. Marcus Aurelius would have rejected this version of calm completely. For him, a composed mind that refuses to act is not wise, it is failing its duty. He had no luxury of hiding from responsibility. Every day brought decisions that affected thousands of lives. If an army went unfed, men died. If a policy was delayed, a region starved. If he indulged in distraction or self-pity, the empire paid the price. This is why his writings do not praise passivity. Instead, they ask a relentless question: what is my duty now? Not tomorrow, not when it feels comfortable, not when I feel perfectly inspired. When heat rises, speak in sentences that a tired person could obey without decoding. In the present moment that I am actually alive in. You may not rule an empire, but you rule something far more intimate, the small territory of your own day. Whether that territory is clean or chaotic, respected or neglected, depends less on what you wish for and more on what you are willing to do repeatedly. Calm, in Marcus's sense, is not the absence of movement. It is the stillness of a man who knows what he must do and does it without drama. His mind is quiet, not because nothing is happening, but because he has stopped negotiating with himself about every little task. Think about how much energy you burn arguing with your own responsibilities. You know you should get up, but you linger. You know you should answer that message, but you postpone. You know you should train your body, but you invent reasons to skip. Each delay fractures your inner unity. On the surface, you say you want a stronger life. Underneath, your actions betray you. This internal civil war creates a subtle noise that follows you everywhere. No wonder you feel restless. You are living in conflict with your own knowledge. Marcus offers a brutal kind of mercy. Stop expecting tasks to feel pleasant. Stop waiting for perfect motivation. Accept that much of what is good for you will not feel good at the beginning. The calm man is the one who has accepted this truth so deeply that he no longer treats discomfort as a special event. It is just part of the job. He wakes up, he does what the day demands, and he does it with as little complaint as possible. He does not need to be in the mood to be disciplined. He lets discipline shape his mood. You can see this in the way he describes his mornings. He reminds himself that he was born to work with other human beings, to play his role in the world, not to sleep indefinitely like an animal. This is not self-hatred, it is clarity. He refuses to worship comfort as the ultimate good. When the body protests, he listens just enough to avoid destroying it, but not so much that it becomes his master. You may not be a soldier or an emperor, but you face the same temptation to turn your life into a shrine to comfort and then complain about feeling empty. Calm without action will always feel hollow because deep down you know you are betraying your potential. You cannot escape that knowledge. You can drown it in entertainment or bury it under routines, but it will leak through in moments of silence. Marcus chose a different relationship with that inner voice. When it told him that he had work to do, he treated it as an ally, not an enemy. Instead of arguing with reality, he moved. One letter sent, one difficult conversation handled, one decision made, one step taken toward the duty he had been avoiding. You can begin to imitate this by shrinking your focus. When your mind screams about everything at once, you become paralyzed. So you do nothing, and then you hate yourself for doing nothing. Marcus cuts through this spiral by returning to the present act. You have power over your mind, not outside events, he reminds himself, and that includes the power to choose a single useful action right now. Not your entire life plan, not your perfect routine, just the next right thing that is within your reach. This kind of discipline builds a different kind of confidence, not the loud confidence of someone who shouts about their plans, but the quiet confidence of someone who has evidence. When you repeatedly do what you say you will do, even in small matters, you begin to trust yourself. Your calm stops being theoretical. You no longer need to repeat affirmations that you are strong. You can see your strength in the trail of completed actions behind you. Marcus would say that your character is revealed by what you choose to do when no one is watching. At the same time, discipline of action is not frantic busyness. Many people hide from their real work behind a flood of secondary tasks. They answer every message, they clean obsessively, they overcommit to favors, all while ignoring the one conversation they need to have, the one boundary they need to set, the one project they truly care about. Marcus warns against this as well. He insists on doing what is essential and cutting away what is merely impressive. If your actions do not serve your values, they are just another distraction wearing the mask of productivity. Calm grows when you simplify your obligations to what truly belongs to you. You are not required to please everyone. You are not required to respond to every provocation. You are not required to participate in every argument or accept every invitation. Your duty is narrower and deeper, to be just, to be honest, to fulfill the responsibilities you have consciously chosen, and to avoid harming others or yourself. When you align your actions with this smaller, more precise set of duties, the noise in your mind decreases. You no longer juggle dozens of artificial roles. You inhabit one coherent life. This is why, in the end, discipline of action is an expression of love for your own soul. It is you refusing to let your days dissolve into triviality. It is you defending your finite time against the constant pressures of laziness, fear, and the expectations of others. Marcus saw clearly that each day lost to distraction is a day of life that will never return. He urges himself, and by extension you, to remember how short your stay here is. When you keep that in view, procrastination starts to look less like a harmless habit and more like a quiet betrayal. The calm you admire in the Stoics, including Marcus, is not an accident. It is the result of countless acts of self-command. At moments when it would have been easy to avoid, they stepped forward. When it would have been comfortable to lie, they told the truth. When it would have been convenient to drift, they chose direction. You are offered the same daily crossroads. Every time you choose disciplined action over indulgent hesitation, you add a small stone to the foundation of a calmer life. And one day, without fanfare, you will look back and realize that the man who once felt powerless in the face of his own habits has become someone else entirely. A man whose peace is reinforced, not threatened, by the way he moves through the world. There is a fear beneath all your other fears that you rarely name directly. It appears when you are alone at night, when a health scare happens, when someone close to you suddenly disappears from your life. It is the awareness usually pushed to the background, that all of this will end. Your body, your routines, your relationships, the roles you cling to, even the problems that consume you now, all of it is temporary. Most people treat this thought like a poison. Marcus Aurelius treated it like medicine. For him, remembering death was not morbid, it was the most powerful way to cut through the illusions that keep you agitated over what is small and blind to what truly matters. He lived with death as a constant presence. Children died young. Disease was not a remote possibility, but a daily reality. War, famine, and plague walked openly through the streets of his empire. Yet instead of letting this crush him, Marcus turned it into a teacher. You could leave life right now, he reminds himself. Let that determine what you do and say and think. This is not a threat, it is a lens. When you look at your life through the possibility of its end, many things you treat as urgent suddenly reveal themselves as trivial, and many things you postpone begin to look like the only work worth doing. Think of how often your calm is destroyed by things that will not matter at all a year from now, much less on your deathbed. Someone took too long to answer you. A stranger was rude. A plan changed. You did not get the exact outcome you wanted in a situation that, in the larger scheme of your brief existence, is almost invisible. Yet you give these moments the power to ruin entire days. Marcus would ask you to measure them against the fact that you are going to die, not to depress you, but to sober you. Is this really how you want to spend the limited number of days you have, tied in knots over minor inconveniences and fragile egos? When you bring mortality into view, your priorities rearrange themselves, whether you want them to or not. You begin to see that much of your agitation comes from chasing things that cannot satisfy you or trying to control judgments that will not survive your absence. The image other people have of you, the comparisons you make, the endless race to not fall behind some imaginary standard, all of this becomes strangely thin when you remember that in a short time, both you and the people you are trying to impress will be gone. Calm emerges not because life becomes easy, but because so many fake urgencies lose their grip. Marcus uses this awareness to soften his anger as well. When someone offends him, he does not simply tell himself to be nice. He remembers that both he and the person who wronged him are temporary. Two fragile bodies, breathing borrowed air for a brief moment. Soon you will both have died, he says, not as a curse, but as a way of shrinking the offense down to its real size. How much hatred can he justify toward someone who, like you, is walking toward the same end? This does not mean you tolerate abuse. It means you do not let resentment consume space in a life that is already short. The same perspective can calm your anxiety about the future. You worry about what will happen to your plans, your money, your status. You project yourself decades ahead and imagine all the ways things could collapse. Marcus goes further. He remembers that empires fall, cities burn, generations vanish. If even Rome, in all its power, is temporary, how could your personal story be exempt from impermanence? Instead of seeing this as a reason to despair, he sees it as permission to focus on the only part of the future that is ever truly yours, the next action you take in accordance with your values. Once you accept that you cannot extend your life indefinitely, you become less willing to waste the time you do have. You stop living as if the days were infinite and begin to treat each one as a unit that cannot be replaced. Suddenly, petty conflicts lose their appeal. Endless arguments online look foolish. Trying to win every interaction feels like a bad investment. You start asking different questions. Did I act justly today? Did I use my abilities to do something that aligns with what I believe is right? Did I waste hours in pointless distraction while pretending I was too busy for what really matters? Notice how this changes your relationship with regret. Without perspective, you either drown in it or run from it. You replay past mistakes, imagining different outcomes, or you distract yourself so you do not have to feel the sting of your own failures. When Marcus thinks of his own errors, he does not pretend they did not happen. He faces them under the same light of mortality. The time he has left is too precious to be spent in endless self-torment, but also too precious to ignore what he must correct. So he uses regret as a tool, a reminder not to waste the remaining chapters repeating the same patterns. You can do the same. When an old memory of humiliation or betrayal surfaces, instead of diving into the emotional recreation of it, step back and ask, if my time is limited, how much of it do I want to donate to this scene again? Maybe there is a lesson you still need to extract. Take it. Maybe there is an apology you still need to make. Maybe there is simply a truth you need to accept. It is over, and no amount of rumination will alter it. Then return to the only place where you can influence anything, the present moment, where life is actually unfolding. Remembering death also exposes the emptiness of many of your ambitions. It is not that you should stop pursuing success, but that you should be honest about why you want it. If your drive is fueled mainly by the hope that being admired will finally silence your inner restlessness, mortality will crush that illusion. The applause will fade, the status will shift to someone newer, the people who validated you will be busy with their own fears. Marcus held the highest position available in his world and still wrote to himself about the vanity of fame. The only success he considered truly his was his progress in living according to reason and virtue. When you adopt this criterion, a calm begins to grow in you, even if your external achievements seem modest. You might never become widely known. You might never accumulate impressive possessions. Yet if you can look at your finite life and say, I did not waste it chasing shadows, I learned to govern myself, then you have attained something that cannot be given or taken by others. Death can erase your resume, but it cannot erase the kind of soul you have built. In this light, staying calm is not a luxury. It is a duty you owe to the limited time you were given. Panic, endless drama, pointless feuds. These are catastrophes of attention, not just of emotion. They consume days you will someday beg to have back. Marcus invites you to imagine yourself at the end, looking back. Which moments will you wish you had handled with more dignity, more focus, more courage? Which obsessions will seem petty and laughable? Live now, so that the man at the end of your life does not look at you with disappointment. The awareness of mortality does not remove pain or uncertainty. It does something subtler and more powerful. It strips away the illusion that you can afford to live in a permanent state of agitation. It reminds you that every time you allow a trivial slight, a temporary delay, or a fragile ego to dominate your inner world, you are spending a piece of your limited existence on something unworthy of it. When you see this clearly, the decision to stay calm in the face of many provocations stops feeling like suppression and starts feeling like a deep act of respect for your life, for your brief moment here, and for the man you are still in the process of becoming. There is an image you may carry in your mind when you think of a calm man. Perhaps you picture someone slow, indifferent, detached from life, watching everything from a distance but never fully engaged. That is not the man Marcus Aurelius wanted to become, and it is not the man you are called to be. Stoic calm is not the stillness of a dead pond. It is the stability of a deep river that keeps moving no matter what falls into it. The calm man is not the one who feels nothing, but the one who is no longer ruled by whatever he feels. Look at what your life has taught you so far. Every time you surrendered your mind to anger, did the situation truly improve? Every time you allowed anxiety to take complete control of your thoughts, did you become wiser, sharper, more capable? Or did you simply exhaust yourself, arriving at the same problems, only weaker? Marcus lived long enough to see that agitation has a terrible return on investment. You lose sleep, you lose presence, you lose dignity, all for a kind of inner storm that changes very little outside of you. The calm man is not naive, he has simply stopped funding his own destruction. This man does not wake up expecting comfort. He expects life. He expects inconvenience, confusion, resistance, other people's moods, his own fluctuations of energy and desire. But beneath those expectations is a decision. Whatever comes, I will not abandon myself. That is the core of his calm. He might be tired, but he will not become careless. He might be disappointed, but he will not become cruel. He might be afraid, but he will not run from what he knows is right. His emotions are guests in his house, not thieves who get to rearrange the furniture every time they visit. You can recognize this man not by the absence of problems in his life, but by the way he moves through them. When someone disrespects him, he does not immediately explode or shrink. He pauses, evaluates, and chooses. When plans change at the last minute, he feels the irritation rise and lets it pass without giving it the steering wheel. When he is misunderstood, he explains himself once, maybe twice, and then accepts that some minds will never see clearly. He does not twist himself into a knot, trying to control perceptions he cannot own. He has work to do with the time he has left, and he returns to it. The calm man learned, as Marcus did, to care more about his character than his image. He knows that people will talk, interpret, praise, and judge according to their own fears and desires. Some will admire him for reasons that have nothing to do with his true self. Others will dislike him for reasons that are not his responsibility. Instead of chasing or fleeing those opinions, he treats them like weather, noticed, maybe prepared for, but never worshipped. His main concern is much narrower and far more demanding. Did I act today in a way that I would respect if I saw it in another man? Because he is guided by this question, his calm does not mean inaction. On the contrary, he can act more decisively than most. Fear does not have to disappear for him to move. It only has to take its proper place. He knows he will die, so he refuses to live like a man who has unlimited chances to correct a cowardly choice. When something needs to be said, he says it without spite. When a boundary needs to be set, he sets it without spectacle. When a door has to be closed, he closes it without writing a long tragic monologue in his mind about how unfair life is. His calm is not softness, it is clarity in motion. This does not make him cold. In fact, because he is not constantly at war with his own reactions, he has more space to see others as they are. Marcus reminds himself again and again that the people who offend him are acting out of ignorance, habit, or pain. The calm man remembers this when he is tempted to hate. He can still hold people accountable, still walk away from poison, still refuse to indulge manipulation, but he does not need to turn every wound into an enemy for life. He understands that he, too, has acted foolishly in the past, and that if every one of his worst moments were frozen and judged forever, he would not survive that scrutiny. This awareness makes forgiveness, or at least release, easier. The calm man is not interested in carrying every injustice like a badge. He has no time to polish his grudges. He has seen, perhaps through Marcus's eyes, how small most conflicts look when placed next to the certainty of death. So he lets some things go, not because they were insignificant when they happened, but because they are unworthy of the limited days remaining to him. He chooses not to be the curator of a museum of hurts. At the same time, his calm does not come from isolation from life, but from the way he participates in it. He loves, but he does not confuse love with ownership. He works, but he does not confuse work with identity. He enjoys pleasure, but he does not kneel to it. He suffers loss, but he does not let loss define him. Marcus would tell him and you that all external things are lent, not given. To grip them as if they were permanent is to guarantee agitation. To hold them with gratitude and readiness to release is to protect your inner balance even as the outer story changes. None of this happens by accident. The calm man you imagine is not the product of luck or a gentle life. He is the result of deliberate training. Day after day, he watches his thoughts and selects which ones to feed. Moment after moment, he notices the first surge of anger or panic and chooses not to build a castle around it. Year after year, he revisits his mortality, not to terrify himself, but to stay honest about what truly deserves his energy. He fails, He slips, he reacts badly sometimes, but he does not build an identity around those lapses. He corrects course and returns to his principles. You will not become this man overnight. Marcus did not. His meditations are full of reminders precisely because he kept forgetting and needing to remember again. You will have days when you lose your center, when a small event feels enormous, when you hear yourself speaking words you swore you were done saying. The difference, if you commit to this path, is that you will no longer accept this as normal. You will feel the weight of those moments as signals, not as destiny. You will return again and again to the quiet conviction, my mind is my responsibility. That sentence, taken seriously, is enough to change the trajectory of your life. It means you stop blaming every inner storm on the sky above you. It means you start asking, in every circumstance, not, why is this happening to me? But, how can I respond in a way that I will not regret when the storm has passed? It means you refuse to let the worst behavior around you dictate the quality of the man you are becoming. You may live among chaos, but you do not have to become chaos. So picture yourself, not as you are in your most reactive moments, but as you could be if you lived the lessons Marcus kept writing to himself. A man who thinks carefully and speaks with intention. A man whose emotions arise but do not seize his steering wheel. A man who remembers that he will die and therefore refuses to squander his time on spectacles of vanity and rage. A man who acts with discipline, not because someone is watching, but because he respects his own soul too much to abandon it to laziness and fear. That is the calm man. Not perfect, not invincible, not untouchable, but rooted, capable of standing in the middle of the same noise that once overwhelmed him and remaining inside like a quiet room with the door gently closed. Light will still hurt him. People will still fail him. Plans will still break. Yet as long as he does not betray his mind, no event will own him completely. In this sense, Marcus Aurelius has already put the crown in your hands. The question is whether you will wear it, not on your head, but where it belongs, in the unseen kingdom of your own thoughts, where true calm begins and, if you guard it well, never fully ends.